Hello Year 7s. So in this lesson, we're going to be talking about multiplying and dividing by powers of 10, and then you're going to do exercise 6D. Now, based on your pretest, the vast majority of you are very comfortable with this skill. So we're going to skip the starting example, and we're going to go straight into it, and I'll make this a quick little lesson for you. So let's read this statement right here. It says, when multiplying by powers of 10, so powers of 10 are 10, 100, 1000, etc., move the decimal point to the right the same number of places as there are zeros in the multiplier. So what does that mean? Well, if I give you 3.23 times 10, because I have one zero, I move my decimal place once to the right. So that means this number now becomes 32.3. Let's move on to the next one. If I have two zeros, I move it twice to the right. So now my decimal place is there. It's 4.567. If I give you negative 2.01, 2.01 times 100, I've got two zeros, so I move it twice to the right. So it's going to become negative 201. Then I can put a 0.0 if I want, or I could just leave it, because remember, if you don't put the decimal, there's a decimal at the end. So you can do what you like there. All right, here I've got 10, so I move it once to the right. So it's going to become 367.8. Here I have 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So my new decimal place is there. It's 1456.7. And then this one, I've got 2, so I move it twice, and now it's there. So it's going to become negative 36590.32. And that is how you do it. So remember, when you're multiplying by powers of 10, you move the decimal point to the right, the same number of places as there are zeros in the multiplier. Now we move on to dividing. Okay, so same idea, but now when dividing by powers of 10, so 10, 100, 1000, etc., move the decimal point to the left the same number of places as there are zeros in the divisor. So notice the difference. The only difference between multiplying and dividing by powers of 10 is one, you're moving it to the right, the other, you're moving it to the left. So if we come to this one, and if I give you 3.23 divided by 10, because I've got 1 0, I move it once to the left. So now it's going to become 0.323. And let's just pause for a moment and reflect on the fact that that makes a lot of sense, because if I'm dividing, the number becomes smaller, right? So 3.23 divided by 10, it needs to become smaller, and my answer is smaller. In contrast, if I multiply, the number has to become bigger. So if you look up here, 3.23 times 10 became 32.3. And that makes sense because timesing makes it bigger, dividing makes it smaller. So now we come over here, I've got 1, 2 zeros. So I move it twice to the left. Okay, so I don't have a decimal point here, so I know the decimal point exists there, and I'm moving it twice because I've got 2 zeros. So it's 41.20. Then we keep on going. This one, again, I don't have a decimal, so I know the decimal point exists there. I've got 1, 2, 3 zeros. So 1, 2, 3 zeros. My decimal point is there, and then I have zeros there. So this is going to become 0.002. And we also like to put a 0 at the front as well, but we know that this 0 is just a placeholder. It's not doing anything. Okay, we keep on going. What about this one? I have 1 0, so I move it once to the left. So it's going to become negative 0.3378. Then we come to the next one. I've got 1, 2, 3. So that means I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. It's going to become 12.49347. And then the last but not least, I've got 2 again. So it's going to be 1, 2. So it's going to be there. Now a 0 is going to exist there, and it's still going to be negative. So it's going to be negative 0.0201. All right, because I moved it twice. So there it is right there. There are my answers. Hopefully this has made sense on how to do this. So nothing too confusing here. And again, based on your pretest, most of you are pretty comfortable with this already. Hopefully you found this helpful.